We are ready. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. Uh, my name is JR, or uh, my name is John, but I go by JR. Today, welcome to my second broadcast of my live podcast. We finally decided the name is Mind Over Mystery. As you can see, my replays will be on my YouTube channel. I have an email up there if people want to email me to give me topics to talk about to help me interact with y'all. Would be much appreciated. Today's topic is CLL leukemia, something that I was diagnosed with earlier this year. The whole path started, I think, October, November of last year. My mom had got an opportunity to take a genetic DNA test. Still to this day, I don't know why, because she's already has two grown kids. So anything passed on, she ain't gonna have kids no more. But still, so they asked me, and I opted to have it done. So I did it one time, and it came back. They couldn't get the full results. So I took it again. Same thing happened. So they sent me they sent out the to the company, and they said that that I have to be tested, like have blood tests, because I could have leukemia or other things. So they sent me for blood work, and my white blood cells was kind of high. So they sent me for what was called a fish test in a as a fish test. Let me see.
Flow symmetry.
Flow symmetry test that determines the flow symmetry test determines what type of leukemia you have, and the fish test determines your markers. And I have a few markers. I'm gonna have to look that up for the next time. I'll go into more detail about that after, because I can look it up at my chart or get a more detailed report about that. I have to actually talk to my doctor and write them down and save them. I have a bad habit of doing that. So after they sent me for that, my nerves were through the roof, and it was just it scared me to death when I found out that I was diagnosed. Welcome in, Tim. That I was diagnosed with CLL leukemia. The scary thing, it was like, um, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I didn't know nothing about CLL leukemia. It threw me. I knew about childhood leukemia. I've heard a lot about welcome in user. I've heard a lot about childhood leukemia, but I've never heard nothing really much about adult leukemia. So it really scared me. For the first month and a half, honest with you guys, I thought I was gonna die. I thought that my world was just crashing down all around me, and I did not know what to do about it or nothing. My wife, I love her to death. Um, K Valkyrie, she's my moderator while I do this. She encouraged me to reach out to some support groups on Facebook or Book of Faces, and I did. I found one that's very, very, very good that I'm in. It's a very good support group. It's got people in there. It's got all kinds of. They've been through everything that you can probably throw a stick at when it comes to leukemia, and not just CLL leukemia. Um, so as I started to read more into what leukemia was, I realized that it's not a death sentence. I realized that you won't die from CLL leukemia. Hey, Sunshine, welcome in. Um, so I started doing the research about CLL leukemia, and the more I did research, the more I kind of learned that I am more susceptible to other types of cancers, like especially the one thing that people with leukemia is more susceptible to is skin cancer. So I have to be more careful when it comes to the sun and things like that. And I did do a little research, and I did not know that I was not sure if CLL leukemia was genetic or inherited. It can be. Oh, thank you, Tim. Yeah, it's scary. That's why I'm talking about it. It's scary that I have it, but I've learned that I'm not going to die from it. It's just going to throw my life into shambles. It can be a genetic disorder, but most leukemia genetic mutations are acquired during life, but they're not always genetic. It's not always the case. So I didn't know that. So the one thing, once I found out after that month and a half, I didn't lay around and sulk about it like at all. And I just I continued on with my day to day operations. Going to the gym, doing everything I had to do, because if I would have laid around and just ate my sorrows and buried myself in food and not did nothing, all of the work that I put into my since my weight loss surgery to keep from putting on weight would have kind of like I wouldn't have put back on 200 pounds, no way. But even if I would have put on 20 or 30 pounds, it would have made me even more depressed than what I was before. So with CLL leukemia, you don't get treatment. There's no treatment right away for most patients, and the CLL leukemia I have is usually not found until you're in 60s and 70s. So finding it early is always a good thing, because their stages just like other cancers. And CLL is a type of cancer that occurs when the bone marrow produces too many lymphocytes, a type of white blood cell. And CLL is a slow growing cancer that usually affects adults and is one of the most common types of leukemia in adults that they have out there. They have SLL, um, which is in the bone marrow, and CLL is in the blood. And so there is a bit of difference, and there's symptoms that you have to pay attention to. Yeah, SLL is the small lymphocytic lymphoma, is an indolent, slow-growing, non-Hodgkin lymphoma that affects B cells, also known as B, are specialized white blood cells under normal conditions. They produce immo, Im, immunoglobulins, also called antibodies, that help protect our bodies against infection and disease. If anybody follows wrestling, Roman Reigns has CML, which is different than mine. He has the one with the bone marrow, and um, so the symptoms when you first get diagnosed, people's like, "Do you have to have treatment? What stage are you in?" Or they'll say, "I'm so sorry." I understand people are sympathetic, and I do. I get it, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. So when treatment is nearing, there's a lot of different um, there's a lot of different things that can happen. They don't treat right away. My white blood cells can be 100,000, and they won't require treatment. They don't require treatment until you have, like, say, frequent infections like pneumonia or colds, or weight loss, or a temperature of 103 for like a week or two straight, and it won't go down. Easily bruising, shortness of breath, night sweats for a month, like I think it's a month straight, like waking up sweating, waking up and have to change your sheets and change your clothes at least once a night. um, things like that. Losing weight within losing what 30 to 40 pounds unintentionally to within 6 months. I think it's like 20 or 30% of your weight without trying. Welcome in, Jules. Things like that. So the treatment doesn't always happen to go like as soon as you get diagnosed. There is stages. When your lymphocytes and your white blood cells, when your white blood cells, or like I said, in the 100,000s, even I've even heard people in the CLL group say that they've had their white blood cells in the 200,000, and they didn't need treatment because they had no other symptoms. And people's like, well, why is that? The doctors say that that's not a requirement for treatment. So it's like, to me, I'm not looking forward to some of the stuff, because when treatment does come, it's mostly in chemo pills. Excuse me. It's not in sitting in a chair and having chemotherapy. So I just know that I still let it creep in my head every now and then that I'm worried about something happening to me. So I just want to educate people. I'm not an expert. I'm just reading stuff that I've learned myself. Excuse me while I take a drink of coffee. That I've educated myself on. And this is not from Google itself. There's two websites, uh, CLL.org, I think, and LLS.org. Those are the two sites that I get a lot of my information from, because they specialize in information for leukemia. So when I read articles, I try to go to their website and see what they have first, because you know, hey Jules, I hope April's doing good. Speaking of somebody that knows about a little bit more about the stuff besides me, is Jules. That's how we connected. Things like that, because of, I don't want to talk about what's going on in her, but we connected through information about leukemia. And so it's a bond that you meet people. And the one thing that aggravates me a lot is when you tell people you're sick or you have leukemia, and they you're not sick, you don't look sick. And it aggravates me when people do that, because people can walk around and have uh, leukemia or cancer or any kind of diagnosis, and you would never know, because they're not that far in the on the spectrum of stages. How do I know somebody's not walking around with a stage 1 lung cancer that they caught early, or anything like that? Or we knew somebody that became our best friend, and it's oddly, because Jules, I don't know if I told you this, the one we had, our best friend, was the same name as your daughter, and she became our best friend. And she had a brain tumor nobody knew about, like only her close family. For 20 plus years, she had it, or close to 20 something years.
Yeah.
Maybe
20 years.
22, something like that, 23 years. And you would never tell. You could never tell that she had that. So when it comes to disease, and or cancer or anything like that, you can't say, "Oh, well, we look sick," because you would look at me being, thank you, Jules, at me being 5'11", 310, 315 pounds of muscle and some fat. You would not think that I had a cancer. I've seen people go through breast cancer treatments and not lose a bit of hair, or not lose weight, or they've stayed the same weight. They didn't lose weight. So it's like, how can you just say, oh, you don't look sick? So also another thing to treat is swollen lymph nodes, in your neck, or under your arms or your groin, those are also signs of treatment. And the one treatment that I'm not looking forward to is when my white blood cells decide to back up into my system and make my spleen or my liver swell, because that's going to hurt. They have medicine pills to help shrink it, but still, I'm not looking forward to that. You know, and when you get diagnosed with something, it's scary. I know this because my mom has survived 3 cancers, and she did not show any fear. I don't know. Now, I don't know how she felt in private because that's her. I freaked out. So the more I talk about it, the more it kind of helps me feel a little bit better about it. But another thing about leukemia is there's so many. Um, there's like so many different types of leukemia, and some of it turns into, different things that can happen. Like they can turn into Richters, and but leukemia has the the leukemia research has came a long way for a long, long time. The main types I keep looking at here because you know because my wife is helping me with information, so I don't have to look on Google. Saves y'all. She can do it, and I can talk. The main types of leukemia are ALL, which is acute lymphocytic leukemia, which is the most common leukemia in children, but can also affect adults. Then you have AML, which is acute myeloid leukemia, and it's another most common, but it's an aggressive leukemia in adults, but can also affect children. And the one I have is CLL, which is the most common type, slow growing, and usually affects older adults. And then you got CML, which is chronic myeloid leukemia, which usually occurs in adults. And that is the one that Roman Reigns has. That's the one in the bone marrow. And then you got the B prolymphatic leukemia, which is BPLL. Then you got blastic plasmamoid. Yeah, I'm gonna butcher these names. Dendritic cell, which is BPDCN. Then you got chronic myeloleukemia, CMML, hairy cell leukemia, and juvenile JMML and LGLL. And there's one BPLL or BALL, or one of them, that also affects children. And like I said, I didn't know nothing about leukemia at all until I got diagnosed with it, and I started doing my research because it's scary. That cancer word is scary. You know, it's scary to have. You don't want to have scary that word because like I said, I don't know how my mom did it. And me, I'm just gonna keep trying to make sure that because people also ask, is there anything that you can do to slow down the progression of your cancer? And no, there's no slowing down or speeding up your the progression of leukemia. There's no medicine. There's no treatment that can slow down the process or speed it up. It's going to progress the way it's going to progress, whether you eat unhealthy or not. Um, so that's not really a thing. But coming from 510 pounds with weight loss surgery, try to eat as healthy as possible. I try to make me a smoothie every day as much as possible. I try to eat a balanced diet. I try not to eat a lot of fried food or greasy food because I also have gallstones, which I had an attack about 3 weeks ago, and that was unpleasant. My first one ever in 5 years. So again, it goes to show you that just because you think, because I know people that have a healthy lifestyle and they still get diagnosed, and they like,
they question why. Why do I get this? I've lived a healthy lifestyle. I've exercised. I've eaten right, stayed away from fried food, greasy food, and I've lived a healthy lifestyle, but didn't get diagnosed with something. That's not always the case. It's genetics as well. We have our genetics that also play a determining factor in our health. So it's crazy to me how people just they want to say, well, I've done this and I've done that. I used to think like that at one point too, and I used to be like, oh, I'm not gonna, nothing's gonna happen to me. I'm eating healthy, and well, I wasn't always healthy because, like I said, I got depressed and put on weight. But that's a story for another time. I'll save that for another podcast. So again, anybody has any questions, I'm gonna point that out again, or wants to email me at that email up there to about topics that they would like me to discuss, and it will be anonymously. I don't need you to tell me your name. That's irrelevant. Your name of whoever sends me the topic to discuss is I'm not going to say that. I just want people to interact and send me an email with topics they would like me to discuss. That's what I want to do because I sometimes have a problem of finding things to talk about without I don't want to cross certain lines because I don't want upset people because it's just going to be there's the only thing there's no politics, no religion, that is off the chain. That is off the table. So back to my leukemia. It's been almost it's in March it'll be a full year. I go for blood work every 3 months for the first year, and then after that, if he's just getting a baseline of how my blood's gonna react, and then if everything stays kosher, that word that people use, excuse me, if everything stays kosher and stays good, then I'll go to every 6 months. So and back to the night sweats thing. Living in Louisiana, we have humidity, and sometimes I do sweat a little bit, but I don't sweat enough to soak the sheets. And when I wake up in the middle of the night just to go to the restroom or turn over, I'm sweating just on my head. I have a friend that's in the CLL group, and he talks about it all the time. When he first started checking about his night sweats, he started thinking, "Is this going to be the time?" Because he'd wake up and just like the head and his neck would be a little sweaty, not his whole body, and he would start saying, so he started paying attention to it. So that's what I do when I wake up and I have a little sweat on my neck or the back of my head. I don't freak out because, like I said, and one of the symptoms is waking up and changing your sheets and your clothes from so much sweat. And I know myself, I'm gonna start freaking out when the treatment when it does come time for treatment. I may be one of the very rare people that may never need treatment for a long, long time. But with the genetic markers I have, the statistics, which we all know is just statistics, show that I might need treatment in 5 years or less. Hopefully, I'm one of them anomalies that I don't need treatment. Maybe I can go longer. Maybe I'm doing something, maybe by drinking smoothies and eating a little bit here and there healthier, maybe that'll help prolong my treatment. I don't know. We will see. All I can do is take it one day at a time. I can't say to myself, self, 6 months from now, you may need treatment. I can't think like that because that will drive me nuts. All I can do is just go to the gym like I do, live my life, the way I do, because I don't know how leukemia is going to react to me or treat me. All I can do is just do what I've been doing and keep, you know, keep up with the exercising and the movement and the fitness, and just keep going and make sure that I stay away from certain things that are not good for me in the long run because I don't know the scientific proof behind if fried food or greasy foods or this food or that food is going to enhance or decrease my chances of treatment. I haven't really looked into that. Maybe I'll talk to my doctor next time I see him because I write questions down to ask him. So maybe I'll ask him, if there's any evidence of any types of foods that enhance or decrease because they would know more than me. So, and if you have any questions about leukemia that you want me to look into or is there any advice you would like, email me. Send me a message on through my email. I'm always open to discuss, any information that I've found because again, I'm no expert. Everything I find, if I need more advice, I run it past my doctor, my oncologist, because he would know more than me and things like that. So next time, I don't know what my topic's going to be. Um, I have till Friday to find out. My time is almost coming to an end.
Got about 5 more minutes.
This. I thought it was 3 more minutes, but I just like I said, I have sometimes problems finding topics. That's why I have the email up there so people can interact. And it's not just you can email me about anything. I mean, it doesn't matter. Help me. Give me a topic that you want me to talk about, or some news article that you find you would like me to talk about. I'm all about interacting with my fans and my friends because that's how I that's how I thrive on interaction, conversation, and it helps me learn because I would like to know how other people thinks about things, and to me, that helps me build because some people are afraid to bring up a topic, and that's okay. They don't want to talk about it, and I will talk about it. Doesn't matter how I feel about it, as long as it's not politics and religion. It don't matter. I will talk about it because they got things that get buried on page 8 of the newspaper, and you know you can't really. They don't talk about it. Like the USA Today newspaper, they always put one little article from each state, like a news story from each state in their paper. And I think that's pretty awesome to do because people that read it, they can find little stories about each state without having to have news from all over. Um, I know to some people news is depressing, especially in this day and age. News can be depressing. I look at it as a way to keep up. You make your own decisions of what you read. You interpret it the way you are the one that is going to determine how you perceive that information. And anything you come across, never take any news article from anywhere at face value because you got to find out to make sure because it's so easy to obscure results. Like when it comes to CLL leukemia, they have so many studies that date back to the 1980s, 1990s, the early 2000s, but none of that is relevant because it's come a long way with research and how to treat different leukemias, and that's what has me feeling encouraged because I see the treatments that's coming out lately in these trials that have been going on for so long that it I feel hopeful, not for a cure. I wouldn't say that, but it makes me feel hopeful that the treatments are getting better and they're getting better at determining what treatment's going to work
for different markers and different people. And hopefully that when I do have treatment, it's not anytime soon. It's not within that 5 year window. But I won't say that I won't never need treatment. Hopefully I'm an anomaly. Hopefully I'm one of the few people that can go 15, 20 years. So, and one other thing that it does that I forgot to mention, it just breaks down our immune system and makes us more susceptible to viruses and colds and things like that. And now I take more precaution when I'm in the gym, stuff like that, because it just makes my immune system weaker over time. And I don't want to. I don't want to get sick. It's already bad enough that I have leukemia, but over time it can make my immune system where the smallest little germ can give me a cold. That's not happening now, but eventually it could happen. My time is almost up. I appreciate anybody that came in, anybody that listened. Um, so you see the replays are gonna be on my YouTube. My email's up there. This has been Mind Over Mysteries podcast. Y'all have a great rest of your day.